So we had transfers on Wednesday, and it, it was like lack of sleep. We didn't really have to go anywhere, not too far at least. So at 3 a.m. we had to be at the bus stop in like Central, in the middle of La Ceiba. So there's no taxis. There's very few taxis at that time at night. In the middle of the night. So there's that. There were very few taxis, and we were waiting around for a taxi for like 30 minutes, and none of them passed by like the main road. I was like, dang, what do we do? And so because usually the bishop, whenever there's transfer nights, we let him know that uh we need a ride at like 3 a.m. He's fine doing it, but we didn't give him enough notice. Like, we let him know the night of at like 10 p.m. We were like, hey, by the way, we have transfers. And he was like, sorry, I need to go to bed. Had a good time tonight. So I've got to travel tomorrow. So I was like, oh, okay. But luckily, after waiting for like 30 minutes for a taxi, and we were messaging a couple members, one of them, Mando Contreras, he was like, yeah, I'll drive you guys over there. So he woke up, got himself up at 3 a.m. drove us over there. That was honestly kind of sketchy. He was still, he was super groggy, and he was not
Why are you
driving
guys
well
up at 3 a.m.?
for transfers.
Why are they so early?
Because, the people going to the other side of the mission, they have to get on a bus early. So he needed to get on the bus at 3 a.m. because he was going to San Pedro. Elder Fernandez was going to 6 de Mayo, which is in La Ribera Hernandez, which is the most dangerous city in all of Honduras. And so, they had to get on the bus at 3 a.m. to take them all the way over to San Pedro. And that's about like a 6-hour drive in bus. So, yeah. And so no, it's like 5 at night. There's not many people. So they got there probably at about like 8:30. And then the missionaries that are staying in San Pedro, they go and pick them up from the bus and they go back home. So I got my companion. Elder Wood, his companion was going to San Pedro as well. So Elder Wood was staying with me in our house. And so, I got to bed at like 12 that night because we stayed up kind of late playing some Monopoly. And then, he was packing and it was like making a lot of noise. So I was like, bro, could you like move all your stuff downstairs to start packing there? Or pack downstairs so it's not loud. Oops. Anyways, so I'll stop rambling about that. But I only got like 5 hours of sleep that night, I think. So that was rough. Because we got back to the house. Oh yeah, the bus was late. So normally, they say the bus is gonna come at like 3:30. We need to be there at 3. The bus got there at 4:30 because one of the buses broke down. Like on the way. And so they had to fix it, and it was like an hour delay. So we finally got back to the house and went to bed at 5:30. And we just slept in till 10 that day. We were like, you know what? We need at least some sleep. So we just slept in until 10.
Can you hear it?
Got up, got ready, and then, we didn't do like any studying that day. I read for like 30 minutes, but we were like, you know what? Let's just sleep in until 10 because we need to sleep. And then the next day, still, he had been traveling. The Hako, He didn't really sleep on the bus at all, so he was running on like 3 hours of sleep that day. And I just told him, hey, tomorrow you can just sleep in for a while, get some extra sleep, man. And then the next day we'll, actually follow the schedule and do better. And so we did.
Where did he
But I've recovered from the lack of sleep. But I don't think he has completely.
Where did Elder Hako come from?
He came from Progreso. Progreso, which is really close to San Pedro. It's a little bit more to the east. And he's from El Salvador. He's I don't know. I still don't really know him. We're just still getting to know each other a bit. We haven't like talked that much like one-on-one. Because we haven't done comp study yet. And just haven't really been talking much together.
How long has he been?
He's been out for 16 months, so he's still got 8. Got 8 months left. I'm at 9 months and 3 weeks. I'm almost at 10 months.
Wow.
Gosh dang. That's crazy. That is crazy. Wait,
Bye.
I'm gonna hit 10 months in 5 days.
Wow.
Dang. Dude, it felt like not that long ago I said, dang, I'm at 9 months. Dude, that's crazy. The time's flying. The time's flying way by. Time is flying by a little bit too fast. But yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, we had a bit of a rough day yesterday. A little bit of arguing. Where he mentioned it kind of, he's pretty passive aggressive. Kind of like how Elder Siciliano was, because Siciliano, he was also from El Salvador. And they're a little bit similar in quite a few aspects. Not in a good way, but he also, I don't know why, this guy, he speaks really fast. And he speaks not very clearly. He kind of slurs his word he slurs a lot of his words together. And so often he'll say something and I'm like, wait, sorry, what? Say that again. And I think it's annoying him because like probably every 3 things he says, I'm like, wait, say that again. Because he's just like, huh. He rolls his eyes. He's like, huh. Or so often he just gets passive aggressive. It's just like, dude, just listen. I'm like, I'm listening, but like, I don't understand you sometimes. I'm sorry. You just talk way too fast. Slow it down just a little bit, for me. It's like, you just need to learn Spanish better. I'm like, okay. So
How about you
I'm
learn
like,
English?
all right, yeah, whatever. Like, and I don't know why Dad explained it to me really well, actually. But recently he hasn't like been talking much at all. Buenas tardes. I'm not sure why. Like ever since the first day, he's not really been talking. Doesn't really talk that much in the lessons. I'll turn the time over to him sometime, in the lesson. And then he'll just be like, no, you keep talking. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. But I thought that's just kind of how he was the first day or so, the first 2 days, because he said he had a really bad headache for that first day. And that still kind of continued the second day. I was like, oh, he's got a headache, But he's continuing to do that. He's just like, doesn't really want to take the initiative so much, I don't know. It was a little bit weird. Or I would like ask him a question, to introduce the next principle. We'd be talking about faith, and then I would ask him a question about like, how have Elder, what is repentance to you? Or how have you applied repentance in your life? Or something like that. Or I'll be like, what is faith to you? Faith with God. And so often he'll just be like, I don't know. No, he would just say that. He would just be like, I don't know, and just not talk. I'm like, okay. And so I continue. But I think, Dad explained it to me. I think he made it a lot more clear to me that, I need to let him, you know, lead the conversation more often. Try something, every other day, where, I lead the conversations one day and then he leads the conversations the other. And, I'll add something, every now and then, or if he wants to turn the time over to me, for sharing a couple principles or something, then I'll do that. But I need to, take the back seat more often, at least every other day. Because with Fernandez, I, was always taking the front seat, almost always, like 90% of the time, I'd say. And Fernandez was fine with that. He's fine taking the back seat because I would always be probably sharing maybe 75% of the stuff in the lesson. Fernandez was fine with that, and he's like, it's kind of a nice break, having somebody take the front seat or taking the lead. I'm like, okay, yeah. If you're fine with that, if you want to share more, you can. I'll try and tell the time over to you more often. But Fernandez was like, no, it's fine. What we're doing is fine. I'm like, you sure? Yeah, okay, all right. But with Elder Hako, I think his style of teaching is different from mine in a lot of ways. I just haven't seen it though. I mean, there was one time I let him lead the lesson, like only one lesson. Like he actually took the lead on it. And there were a lot of things that he was saying that I'm like, that's very direct and also not very correct.
Same kind of effect.
Yeah, so transfers, it was just, a crazy day. And then the other day, we had some guy get shot a bunch outside of our apartment.
What?
Or not outside of our apartment, but like next to the field in front of our apartment. So we were out, preaching and not preaching, teaching. So we were out teaching and we heard some shots, from somewhere. We're like, oh boy. Every now and then you just hear shots, come from somewhere. Like maybe once a week or so. But we went to dinner and then we, walked back to the house. This was at like, 9:30. And on the way back, there was just like police out and then like a dead person on the ground. I was like, what the heck? Why? That was like 2 hours in between, from when we heard the shots to passing by there. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah.
Was it
The
good?
police weren't doing anything. They just had the area like taped off. And the next day we heard, more. I don't know if it's true, but like supposedly the guy was, in debt to the gangs, and he couldn't pay, and so some two guys showed up on a motorcycle, said hi, and then once the guy turned around, they shot him. So
Dang.
yeesh. So don't get involved with gangs. Don't go in debt with gangs, man. Don't borrow money from gangs.
It's rained here.
rain.
Rained.
Yeah, it's rained here a lot too.
I bet.
There was one day where I don't get it. Like, okay, I invited my companion to use my, boots that go over his shoes. I'm like, hey, you can borrow them, throughout this transfer. And we've got 3 big umbrellas in the house. And, it was like most likely gonna rain later in the day. I was like, it's probably gonna rain, bro. I mean, you can borrow my boots if you want, and you can use an umbrella. He's like, no, I'm good. So he just went out without anything. I'm like, you sure? Because if it starts raining, we're just gonna continue working. It's like, yeah, I know. And what do you know? Like an hour later, it started pouring, and the streets were like getting filled with water. It was raining for like 3 hours, and he was always just soaked. His shoes were completely soaked, full of water. And then I afterwards I was like, dude, I told you. I'm like, I let you know. He's like, yeah, I know. But I told him again, the other day, you can use the boots. You can use them. If you think it's gonna, if you think it's gonna rain, um, he's like, nah, I'm good. And then it poured again, and then his shoes got soaked.
El Salvador.
El
But
Salvador. I'm sure El Salvador gets tons of rain too.
yeah,
What is he doing?
he's like, I don't know, I'm used to it. I'm like, what?
he's one with the rain.
I don't know. Kind of crazy. It's the Rain Man. But yeah, so
Maybe he prefers
yeah, that
that
was just.
being hot.
Well, usually when it's been nice and cool recently. It's cloudy outside, and so it's like a nice, cool, like 75. Like maybe it'll like for a high it'll be like 80, but it's like nice. Um, but it's nice and cloudy outside, so it's not usually hot. But then when it rains, it's kind of annoying. It's the worst when it rains like a little bit for like 30 minutes and then doesn't rain the rest of the day. Because then the rest of the day is humid, like really humid.
Yep.
I don't know why, but like if it rains for 2 hours and then it stops, it's not nearly as humid as if it rains for like 30 minutes and then stops.
It's
Because
cooler.
when it rains, there was one day it rained for maybe like 20 minutes and then it went away. And then this like the clouds came out, or the sun came out, the clouds went away. And so it was hot and it was so humid. That was the worst. That was so bad. But yeah, so it's been nice recently. The weather's been good. But then as well, the other day, like the day after the guy got shot, some of these kids that we've talked to like a couple times that they usually hang around that football field, they're like, dude, we got a video of the guy getting shot.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? What are you guys talking about? They're like, yeah, you want to see? I'm like, no, I don't want to see. I'm like, okay. I was like, these kids, like, okay, why do they have a video of the guy getting shot? And also, why is there a video of the guy getting shot? Also, how are they not like sensitive at all to that?
Yeah.
Because they live there.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
But that's like they're like, oh, there's still some blood on the telephone pole. You want to see? I'm like,
Ew.
what the? You guys are like 6, 8 years old. Oh my gosh.
They get pictures of the killers.
I'm sure the police aren't going to do anything.
Gosh, no, that's probably right.
I mean, the gangs, yeah. I'm sure the police have a contract or something with the gangs. I don't know. The only thing the police does down here is like messes with the people. Like they collect their taxes. They pull you over for speeding or for any sort of reason. So somebody gets shot, police aren't gonna do anything. It sucks. Everything's so corrupt down here. I don't understand. So many people like dog on the United States, but I would not want to live here in Honduras, man. Holy crap. Like there's so many people that say, oh, the States is so bad. I would never want to live in the United States, down here. I'm like, it's so much better than here. It's so much safer. You have much better everything. You have so much better doctors, lifestyle. Sure, it's a little bit more expensive, but everything's more advanced. You don't have to worry about water because so often, the water goes out for like hours, power's out so often. Nothing's developed, not very much. You have actually paved roads that are taken care of. And it's like, you don't have that here. So, but I don't know. Elder Slade, he mentioned once that he was like, I would like to live here in Honduras. I would like to live here in Trujillo. I'm like, why? He's like, it's just like a calmer living, It's just a more calm life. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But
He wants to live the gangster life.
he wants to live the gangster life.
The gangster
He
life.
wants to. I don't know. I don't know why he wanted to. Like, oh, it's more calm, It's a calmer lifestyle. Go live in the country in the United States. There you go. That's a calmer lifestyle. Uh, but yeah. Anyways, so Honduras, it's nice. The people are all right. But I don't know. I will not even like have a second thought about returning back to the States. But I do want to visit Honduras again with grandma. I want to go and visit some places after the mission. And then another thing, like with Vanessa and Saul, the two partners, they're not married, the boyfriend and girlfriend. Saul, that is the guy that's like really smart, also intelligent,
Mhm.
and then Vanessa, who's like also really interested. But they're just not progressing either, unfortunately. Like they don't. Saul is always, busy, or he's always giving excuses. I'll come again a different day. I'll come again. Maybe another time. Or we'll go there, and he's there at home, and he's like, "Oh, I was just about to leave, actually, to go do some chores, to go do some, shopping." I'm like, okay, but my girlfriend here will listen to you. I'm like, okay, and then so we'll share something with her, and she's like, "Oh, she likes it, but she hasn't followed up on any commitments. She hasn't read when we've invited her to read. She hasn't come to church. They can totally come to church, but they don't really want to come to church. We invite him to read, or to read a bunch of different, parts. One day we would invite her to, read a little section, maybe read Mosiah 7:39 to 48. Maybe read the introduction of the Book of Mormon, read, Moroni 10, 3 to 5. Just something, and she would never, follow up on her commitments or their invitations. So
It's not the right
unfortunately,
time.
not the right time. Saul was not too interested, and he's also just busy. And Vanessa, she likes to listen, but she's not gonna act on her faith. And we tried to explain to her once that, faith without works is dead. We have to put in practice the things that we learn. We have to show forth our works, show forth the fruits of these seeds that we're planting. When we learn something, we got to actually act on it. When we grow our faith, if we want to grow our faith, we have to actually put these things in practice. And so, I think we're just, it's not their time. And then this other lady that, we've taught her for like, a week and a half now, maybe 2 weeks now. We invited her to watch conference, and, she was like, "Oh, I don't know. I've got a headache right now. I don't want to watch it." I'm like, okay, sounds good. And every time we were teaching her, she was just always, talking a whole bunch. She would just talk and talk and talk. And she was always talking about her family, and she would always be talking about like people that died. I'm like, it was always like depressing. It's like, yeah, my husband died, a couple years ago. And some of my children and grandchildren got into drugs, and then they overdosed and died. I'm like, what the heck? She was just always talking about family and like sad stories. I'm like, oh, can we get on track? Uh, so, um, just this last Sunday, she told us, yeah, I'll come to church, if it's not raining. And then so we went there, and it wasn't raining, thank goodness. And she was like, I don't know, I've got pressure in my head, and if I walk a bit, it hurts. Uh, I'm like, okay, understood him on that. She's like, oh, but come again, come again a different day. And I think I was a little bit insensitive, and I was like, Hermana, if we don't, try and, show forth our efforts, if we don't try and, do what the Lord has asked of us, if we don't try and keep his commandments and try and grow closer to him and do what we need to do to, you know, grow our, what did I say? No tienes todo compromiso. If you don't have the desire to, grow closer to him, to show forth the fruits, show forth your efforts, it's like he's not going to be able to bless you as abundantly. We have to, even when times are tough, we have to try and, put forth more effort, sacrifice a bit of our time and efforts to him, for him, and in turn he'll bless us, help us. Because maybe, for example, right now, you have a headache, you have a migraine, but if you try and set aside some time this week to go to church and to try and connect more with your Father in heaven, maybe he'll make that migraine go away. Maybe he'll help you. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know, next Sunday. So I don't know, we'll give her another shot. I think she just likes having us over to talk. So we'll visit her like 1 or 2 more times this week, and then we'll see if she comes to church. If she does, okay, cool. Because we also invited her to baptism. It was like a kind of a soft invitation, and she was like, "Yeah, I'd like to get baptized." Because she got baptized in the Catholic Church when she was like a baby, and we explained to her that that's not a valid baptism because you couldn't sin as a child, so there was no point in getting baptized. She was like, "Yeah, I'd like to get baptized. Yeah, it'd be cool." So, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think she's a lady that likes commitments, but we'll see. Same with Eduardo. That guy, we wasted too much time with him. Like, that was actually a wasted time with him because he did not want any commitments. He liked listening to us, but he never tried to put any effort into trying to grow up for himself. He didn't try to learn for himself. He didn't want to read because he didn't have any reading glasses. And he's like, no, I don't have the money to buy reading glasses. I'm like, okay.
They're cheap.
Oh, that's and he's got money for a personal like assistant to bring him lunch, every day. And he's got a tenant upstairs. I'm like, you definitely do have the money, but I didn't say that. I was like, yeah, right.
Mhm.
No, I didn't say that. But I was just like, well, okay. I mean, anyway, if you don't read, you won't be able to gain that personal testimony of the truthfulness of these things for yourself. But and then also, and I'm on the Anna, that lady that the Spirit, step by step guided me to her.
Mhm.
She's just been busy. She's always been out of town. We haven't been able to visit her in 2 weeks. And we've only had one real lesson with her. And that was a month ago. And so every now and then we'll pass by her house to see if she's there. Because it's like right next to one of our baptismal dates. One of our fetches. Or we'll give her a call every other day, send her a text. She never responds to the text. Every now and then she'll pick up on the phone call and be like, hey, I'm out of town right now. Call me on this day to see if I'm home. And then we do call her and then she doesn't pick up. Or there's been a couple times where actually we do pass by her house and she's there by coincidence. And then we're like, hey, can we share a message, with you? Do you have time? 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Oh, a different day, I think.
Dang.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad, explained to me that maybe she just has to she needs a reason to listen to us. We have to make I have to make this gospel more personal to her. And like, I mean, the Lord literally guided me directly to her. And we had a fantastic first lesson. I mean, it was the perfect first lesson. And it was the best first lesson I've ever done. But I don't know, she just doesn't really want to learn from us, doesn't want to receive us. Maybe she does, but she doesn't know it yet. I don't know. So, the next time we see her, I'm going to tell her, that story that I had, where we were just walking along, that month and a half ago. We were just walking around in Nueva Era, and I felt the need to pray. And I prayed to the Lord if there was somebody that we needed to visit, and that I felt like there was. And the Spirit literally guided us step by step to your house for a reason. We don't know what that reason was. I don't know what that reason was. But I know that the Lord needed us to come. The Lord sent us here for a reason. Do you know what that reason is?
Mhm.
Something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. Because she loved our message. And no, she did read the introduction. Oh, but I don't know. She's just always saying, she doesn't have time, or a different day, or something like that. Now's not a good time. So I don't know. Maybe she just needs a reason, like, to make us a priority. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, it was a good week. I learned a lot, honestly. I learned a lot from my studies this week. And I've learned. I've learned a lot this week, especially from Dad. So shout out to Dad for being Dad. But yeah, so this next week should be a lot better. So we need to, okay, Dad. So if I'm correct, the things that I needed to, or I should work on, do better is with Anna. Share the experience that I had with Elder Hako. Try and do that every other day thing. Where I kind of take the front seat and then I take the back seat. Try and help him to more or less lead the area more often. And then Jeremy,
Yeah.
from Jeremy, I need to be more
That's on my phone.
tolerant
Right.
and be more kind, respond
It's been hard. I've had.
not in a contentious manner. I feel like there was something else, Dad, that you told me that
Ah.
was really good.
Get out of your
Oh yeah,
comfort
get out of my
zone.
comfort zone. Get
Don't
out of my comfort
place
zone.
it.
Get out of my comfort zone.
And then
Don't
also
become
make
complacent.
every discussion personal. Find out what personally
I don't know
how
what I'm doing.
how things you're teaching them are personal for the people.
Yes.
It's got to be personal.
Going
Gospel's
away.
got to be personal.
Okay, let me note those things down. Make the gospel
Discipleship
personal.
with Christ is a personal thing. So they have to find their personal connection to the Savior.
I don't know what's going on. Hey, I gotta
Uh,
say goodbye. I'm losing my phone. Love you,
Okay.
You're losing
Benjamin.
your phone. Okay. All right. Love you, Grandma.
Okay,
Take care.
bye.